Alrighty, so this will be we'll see, hopefully relatively quick video for how to deploy to Firebase. I've done it when I was on my Linux subsystem in Chromebook, but now that I've switched over to my Mac, I realized I actually need to redo the process. So I thought, what a perfect way to show you. So I may have to stop to troubleshoot, but I'll show you the basic concepts. I will give you, in addition to this video, a link to the Firebase Hosting. It's a great website, gives you all that you want to know about the hosting. How does it work? You have to install the CLI. It tells you what you can connect it to a web app, but it tells you the domain, subdomain you're going to be part of. But here's your basic steps, right? So you have to install the CLI. Already have a project set up, which you all do because of the work we did on the Udemy projects. You already have that. So you're welcome to use that or do another one. And then deploy, right? And this is optional, of course. So there's just basically 3 steps that you need to do. So first, install the Firebase CLI. So this link will send you, I think this is the one, to some information. Evidently, it's trying to find something here. Let me try to here we go. Is that right? Yeah, here with the CLI. Here it is. Okay, so I thought I clicked that. Sending me back here. Okay. That's a really helpful thing. Thank you so much. Oh, no, this is it. I just wasn't ready. It doesn't look very the same. Installing it. So it must be below here. Oh, it was just loading. I guess for some reason it's having a hard time. So up at the top here for the 3 major operating systems. So in this case, because I'm using Mac OS this time, so you can click into whichever one you have. I'm going to use NPM just because that's what I use. If you use something else, you can also do the standalone binary if you want. But in this case, and I'm just going to copy this, right? So I'm going to copy this, and this is what I'm going to install on my system. So I'm going to switch over to VS Code. Let me clear this. I'm in my dev directory. So this is my starting directory for my Dev2, which I need to actually move over to Dev2. But so now I'm just going to paste that. Okay. So what this does is it actually does a global install so that you have the Firebase tools wherever you need them. Okay. It's not it's going to be available to any project that you would want to use. So just know that that's true. So while we're waiting for that to install, let's flip back over and look at this, that the command, right, globally makes the Firebase install. And then it just gives you the different ways to do it, right? This is the command that we just did. And now what you want to do is a Firebase login, okay? And that will be the next thing once this finishes, which it looks like it did. Okay, so it looks like I had a few warnings, but otherwise it worked fine. So now I'm going to do a Firebase login. And this is actually going to take me to log in to my Firebase account. Let's see what this does. This is the one I was saying last night. When I did this on I'm already logged in. So in this case, on this system, I had already done this, and it already has the login credentials, so that's good. And now what I could do is do this. This is optional. You don't have to do this, but it does show you a list of your projects that are on Firebase, and it just kind of confirms that you're on Firebase. So it's reaching out and looking at these. So let me, for a second here, go ahead and move over to Firebase just to give you that instance here. So in the console, these are the projects that it's listing. So I'm going to use this one. And as you can see, we've talked about authentication. I've shown you my Firestore, and now I'm just going to click down into hosting. But because I've already added mine, yours is going to look a little different here. It's actually the same step-by-step process. Okay, so clear that up, and then we'll jump back over to the documentation. So now we're ready to go. So now we're actually, this is the other, the other setups for the other OSs here. This is actually the command I had to use on Linux to get that working because it wouldn't. And now I'm actually to initialize a project. Now I've already initialized the project, but it's okay. I can do it again. And I'll do the Firebase init, right? And it gives you these options. So this is, and let me actually just make this a little bigger here, right? So if you use your arrow up and down, you can see what options you have. I'm going to use hosting for this example. I have also used the database, the Firestore. So I'm going to do hosting. Oh, I think I have to use spacebar there. Yeah, so I actually have to go into hosting and then use spacebar. There we go. Just likes it the way it likes it. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to use an existing project. Can you guys see that okay? Hopefully you can. So I'm going to use an existing project. I'm going to use my 94. And it says, what do you want to use for your public? Now I can just, this is what I was talking about last night. And for this setup, I do have a public one as well. So we'll play with this as well. There is a build directory, but I'm going to leave this as is for a moment. This is what Oscar and Hugo and I were talking about last night, is do you want to reconfigure, right, all of them for the index? I'll go ahead and hit no. And you can play with this to see if it works well. Overwrite it and I'll say, yeah, it looks like I've already done this deploy before. Cool. So that's really all I had to do. I had to answer a couple of questions and that's it. So now that we've done all that, you can actually see it wrote Firebase JSON, and this is basically the answer to these configurations. I'm going to go ahead and clear this. So now we turn to the React side, right? And so what you can do here is npm build and oh, okay, run script build. I don't remember that being true before. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually running the command to optimize my React code for deployment. This is going to take a couple of minutes to do this. And let's see. Yeah, see actually right here where it's going, it's creating this directory called build. And this is where that optimized code for my project will live. It's taking a few minutes here just to do that. Cool. So now, boom, we're done, right? So now what we're going to do, again, watch these messages, make sure you're paying attention that they're actually coming through. So I'm going to clear that up because I could actually look at, this is the npm serve build, but I'm not going to serve it. That's where you would look at it locally, but I'm going to just go ahead and do, matter of fact, let me switch over and show you. Now that we've done this, we've set up the configuration. It talks about this, right? Add aliases if you need them. We get on down to Firebase serve if you want to serve it local. But what I want to get to is, deploy. This is the piece, right? So then what I want to do here, so this will be interesting. We'll just try the straight command first to see. I think it asks me. So if I do Firebase deploy, so actually it's deploying what was setting in public, right? Yeah, so if I go look at that, I'm guessing that's an old version of what I had. So what I want to do is actually, I think I can just move into the directory for, so it deployed that, but I'm just going to go into the build directory and I'm going to say Firebase deploy. There we go. So that's working. Cool. So now let's go ahead and do a control. It takes a moment for it to get out there. Option click. I'm going to open. Looks like it's still coming through. It does take it a little bit to do this. I'm going to pause just for a second here. Okay, so I went back in because I thought about it, and really it was this step, and this is the one I had talked about before, so sorry for the duplication. But here, what do you want to use for your public directory? I'm going to call it build, okay? And what that, and I could have actually just gone into my Firebase JSON file to do this. There we go. And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say yes. The file already exists. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say yeah. Okay, cool. So now if I do that, now let's see, because the reason I stuck here is because it wasn't deploying. There was nothing coming out. So now I'm going to do good. So I'm in that directory. So now I don't need to be in this directory any longer, okay? Because what's happened is that by setting up that public as my build directory, I no longer have to be in the build directory to do it. Cool. So this will work. All right, take it a moment here, but I should see. Okay, let me pause again. Okay, so that was interesting. I was doing all that troubleshooting to try to figure out what it was, and what I came to realize is that something in my app broke. And I just run it yesterday, so I didn't think of when I was getting this error that it was something in my app. And so I ended up running my npm start and found out I had an issue here. So the issue is not what I thought it was. So I just want to show you what you'll see on the Firebase hosting side. So what you can see here is that I have deployed, and those are the files that got deployed. So it has been deployed. The issue I was getting was that there's something just in the code. It'll take me a few minutes to do that. So know that if you see this, this just means make sure you don't have any issues in your code before you do that. Otherwise, this should be a fairly straightforward process. And I say that, in quotes because, you got to make sure it's working, which is what I ran into. Anyway, I hope this just gives you that process. Again, refer to that documentation page, hosting documentation page, this one, which I will provide in the link underneath this video. All right, thanks. Have a good one.